Talmor, Shishin Magachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming. And death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
The thing that I fought tooth and nail to bring my son into is Dungeons and Dragons. That is the ultimate solution to parenthood.
I'm Alexis Ohanian. In my podcast, Business Dad, I'm hoping to open up the conversation about balancing careers and family. I talked to Rainn Wilson. I wanted to learn more about Rainn's advice to play D&D with your kids. Business Dad is available now, so be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello world and welcome back to another episode of Thanks for Coming In. I'm your host, Jillian Clare. If you are new to this show, welcome. This is the show where I talk to fellow actors about their auditions and how they got to where they are now and everything in between. It's a good time and I'm very lucky that y'all have listened to this show for over a year now. Pretty cool. Didn't know that I would be doing this long, but here we are, and I'm pretty happy that it's happening. So thank you for listening, and if you haven't given us some stars yet, please do that. And if you're not subscribed, if you're just tuning in for the first time, hit that subscribe button. I am back to pre-recording interviews as I go away for a few weeks and work on something. So just in case things sound like a month ago when you're listening to it, it's because it is. So I'll be back to recording in August, but until then, you will be listening to pre-recorded interviews and episodes that we put together prior to me being busy. Today on the show, we have Jacob Hopkins. You may know his face from The Goldbergs, or you may know his voice from Dragons, Rescue Riders, or To Your Eternity. And we have a great time, so here is my conversation with Jacob Hopkins. And welcome to the show, Jacob Hopkins.
Hey, how we doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, thank you.
I love all of the posters in your room. For those listening, he has some amazing posters up. They're great.
Yeah, I got like a bunch of like Dragon Ball, Marvel, some football stuff. I got Saints. You can't see because like my desk is here and then my bed's like right next to that. I got like a bunch of like Wolverine and Doctor Strange stuff up here.
So you're a comic book fan.
No, I actually don't really like comic books that much. I don't know what gave that away, but no.
Don't like them all that much, huh?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I like pretty much grew up on those. I remember when I was like a little kid and my dad would have me do chores around the house, which basically consisted of like sweeping and fluffing pillows and stuff like that. He would we would do it once a week and then we would earn like an action figure that came with a comic book.
Oh, that's so
Do that for my
cool.
brother and I. Yeah, so that's how I got into all of that. And I found out later that my dad is a comic book fan. So like it was sort of his way of I don't know, I don't want to say like indoctrinating, but like he was
But
sort of like, yeah, pretty much. He was like, this is what you must love, learn to love and stuff. So
I mean, that's pretty cool. I feel like the people that I know who are big comic book fans also have this like innate knowledge of like human perspective, which I think is very, very different for those who, don't read comic books. But I feel like everyone I know that reads comic books is very intelligent.
Yeah, because they're always theorizing about like the quantum realm and pocket dimensions.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So you've been working since you were a kid, is that right?
Yeah, I started when I was 5. My bringing up my dad again. He was a actor before me. He actually played AJ Quartermain on General Hospital in the
Hmm.
90s. Yeah,
I'm sure
and
my mom would know him.
oh yeah, she probably would. Um, I've had like teachers who have found out, and they were like, "Wait a minute, really?" Like they had watched the show. Um, but when I got into it, I was 5 years old, like 4 or 5, and my dad was still. He doesn't act anymore, but I think he was still like, he's still kind of acting at that time,
Mm.
and in the early 2000s, and I was running errands with him, and we stopped by his agents, and they looked over at me and were wondering if I wanted to get into acting. And me being like a little kid, I just like popped right out of my seat and I was like, yeah, sure, what's acting? I didn't
That's
have like
so
a
funny.
I didn't have a concept of what all that was. I didn't know anything about show business. And that's when I started, and I learned everything I know about acting from my dad. My mom did some acting too. She was more of a dancer, actually.
Mm.
She had a full ride scholarship for dance,
Wow.
um, but she did some acting too. So they knew like how to navigate this world. It's a
Right.
completely different world, especially for a kid. And sometimes it can be pretty overwhelming. So I was very fortunate, that they already knew the ins and outs of the business and they knew how to navigate it, and they guided me through it. They still do to this day, to a degree. um, but
That's great
yeah,
though. It's
yeah.
nice to have somebody who is, versed in everything that this business entails. I mean, I started professionally when I was 8 as well in LA.
Oh wow.
And my parents had no idea about anything. We moved from Portland, Oregon. So we had no idea. So it's nice to have that mentor of sorts. My acting teacher became my mentor, and it's nice that like your family was also your mentor because it's huge when you're a kid.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I feel like if someone's gonna be your mentor, it's got to be someone close, someone
Mhm.
you can look up to and trust. Um, and yeah, and then I've been doing it ever since. I started with just strictly theatrical.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't get into voiceover until I was around like 11. Um, so I've been doing voiceover for 8 years, but
Mm.
acting total of like 14 years.
And
Or yeah.
what was like the first set that you remember being on? Because I don't know about you, but for me, like I don't remember a lot from the early days because it
Mhm.
all just kind of like blended together.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I'm playing pretend.
Yeah.
uh, that, or at least that's how I thought of it. I didn't like, I still didn't have that concept of like, this is a job. Um, I think the one that really stands out to me this day, was when I was 9 years old. I booked Alexander Drew on True Blood. I played
Best
a
show
van
ever.
like, dude, it's amazing. I play like what was the character description? It was like thousands of year old, like this vampire was thousands of years old, but he was stuck in a 9-year old's body.
Oh my gosh, wait, were you on like the rooftop and then like all that stuff? Wait, tell me
No,
more.
I did get staked though, if that's what you were going with
Okay,
that.
yeah.
I was in 3 episodes, and it focused around like the vampire authority. So like I was a part of the authority. It's like that classic. It's like that classic trope where it's like there's a child who's like high
Right.
ranking and stuff, but he's very wise and cunning and strong. And I end up getting staked by Christopher Meloni's character because
Brilliant.
I film myself feeding on humans, and he's like, "Yeah, that's against the law." He picks me up and stakes me, and I explode in blood and guts.
You got
And
staked by Stabler. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
it was awesome. It was such a cool experience. Going back to your question, like the set, it was the most theatrical set I think I've been on to date. They decked it out to look like this lair, like this
Mm.
ancient lair. There were like, old, cobblestone columns, mixed in with like this modernized table and light, but there were like golden chalices of blood and stuff, and
Wow.
it was so dramatic, and it really stuck out. My mom like went everywhere with me when I was 9, acting wise. So, she was there with me every day on set, and I remember, her telling me later in my life, she's like, I was kind of worried that, you would get scared.
Right.
And all I remember about, being on that set, like when I wasn't working, um, was just that I was super excited because I loved, and I still love, like, monsters and creatures of the
Mm-hmm.
night and stuff, and vampires and Frankenstein and all that type of stuff. Um,
And
and
what a cool experience too to have as a child, because it's like when you are on a set like that, it really does take away the the aspect of like yourself. Like you do feel like you're in it because
yeah,
it is so enveloping and huge and magical that you almost can't not act. Like you have to do it
yeah,
because it's like, "Oh my gosh, look at this play space."
yeah, and they would even deck me out in like all the makeup and stuff. They put me in a suit. I was a 9-year-old in like a suit, and tie. They had the like the Vampire Authority like pin insignia on
Mhm.
the tie, which I did get to keep.
That's so
I do
cool.
have that. I wish I like came prepared. I could just like pull it out and show you, but I definitely do have that. And
Wow.
they like they put like the red eyeliner around my eyes.
Oh
They
my
kind of like
gosh.
spiked my hair down, and oh wow, I actually just remembered. I completely forgot about this part, but they like put like fake blood on my fingernails, like caked them with
Ooh,
blood.
gross.
Yeah, and so like as a kid who loved vampires, I was like, this is awesome.
That's a
And
dream.
I remember I really didn't have to try because I already had the love and the passion for it. So I just stepped in and I was like, I'm a vampire. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it.
You can shop from anywhere doing pretty much anything. You might shop while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast. And however you shop, we all know and love the thrill of the hunt. But do you also know how to get the thrill of the best deals? Because Rakuten shoppers do. With Rakuten, they get the deals they love with the most savings and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Sephora, Nike, and even Expedia if you're looking to get some travel in. And getting cash back doesn't mean you have to miss out on sales because those can just be stacked right on top. It's easy to use and based on a simple idea. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back through PayPal or check. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's Rakuten. As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But we also sell merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell and grow at every stage of your business, from the launch your online shop stage all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. They have an all-in-one e-commerce platform and in-person POS system, so wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. With the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms, Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers. Shopify has allowed us to share something tangible with the podcast community we've built here, selling our beanies, sweatshirts, and mugs to fans of our shows without taking up too much time from all the other work we do to bring you even more great content. And it's not just us. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Shopify is also the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/REALM now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm.
Wow, that's so cool. And you mentioned now that you've been doing voiceover for the past 8 years, I think you said.
Yeah, right.
And you're doing Dragons Rescue Riders now, which is so cool because it's a How to Train Your Dragon spinoff.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is like the best. I remember seeing that movie and being like, I need Toothless. Like, can I have Toothless? Can I have a dragon? How do I get one?
I was one of those kids when I first of all, joining the How to Train Your Dragon universe was, still is incredible. I remember I read all the books before the movies came out.
Mm.
And I was going to say I was one of those kids that when I saw the movie, I was like, actually, Toothless isn't a giant black dragon. He's supposed to be a small green dragon. But yeah, I've always been a huge fan of that, that world, that series. And, being a part of that is kind of surreal to this day. For those of you who don't watch the show, I voice Axel Finke. He's a human in the Dragon universe, and he's sort of like a con man. He's the nephew of the antagonist, Magnus Finke, the evil scientific genius, and Axel joins in season 2. And he joins up with Magnus, and they team up to take down the Rescue Riders, pretty much, or so Magnus thinks. My goal the entire time, it fluctuates. I have my own agenda. At the time, I wanted my own dragon, and then there are other instances where I want to join the Rescue Riders. I want to become a hero. So I sort of have that arc where I realize that my uncle's kind of a jerk. It's sort of like, I wouldn't say it's exactly like, the Joker Harley Quinn dynamic, but it's sort of like that, there's the evil boss, and then there's, that underling that, idolizes that boss, but then starts to realize that, wait a minute, I'm not all that bad, but, this guy is, so where do I fit in? And those types of roles are always really fun to play, I think. Especially since he's constantly switching sides.
Yeah.
It's an unpredictability, that you get to play.
It's a
and that's always
very
really fun.
Loki type of thing.
Yeah,
happening.
there you
Like,
go. Yeah.
Is he good? Is he bad? You don't know.
Yeah.
That's cool though. And it's fun to do that, just with your voice. And I've talked about this on the show before with other guests. It's so difficult to convey all of that just with your voice. Like it's a certain skill, a certain muscle that needs to be worked. How did you find your way through the voiceover acting like genre? Because it is really its own craft.
Oh yeah. Now I was literally about to say it's definitely a completely different craft. It's a new world. I had been doing theatrical acting at the time. I started voiceover when I was 11, so I had been doing theatrical acting for 6 years at that point. So I already had the art of acting under my belt. If that makes sense. Like I already, I knew how to act and
You were
stuff. So that
comfortable.
wasn't.
You were
Yeah,
in
right. I
your
was comfortable.
zone.
Yeah. So that wasn't the problem. The tricky part was learning all the different things that come with voiceover. When people are on camera, you and I are talking right now, we're using a lot of our body language and our facial expressions to communicate. We have inflections in our voice, but it comes across clear, when you can see our mouths moving, you can make out exactly what we're saying and all that stuff, but none of that really matters when it comes to voice acting because there's no camera to pick that up. So you have to work on kind of, not kind of, just portraying every emotion solely through your voice, which, you know, technically speaking, requires, like, you know, you have to speak very, very clearly, enunciate, but make it seem natural, like make it seamless. Um, you have to work on, you know, finding the right placement of acting, because you
Mm,
do have to exaggerate a little bit. And if you still want to keep your performance grounded, you know, stuff like Ren
right.
and Stimpy, they go way over the top. But um, you know, do you know who you're dealing with? But you know, Gumball, he gets over the top too. But there are those moments, those real moments. You just kind of have to exaggerate those inflections in your voice, really
Yeah.
pay attention to the detail. And then there's always like working on the range of your voice, how high, how deep, adding those tones, the, you know, maybe a raspiness or a gravel or back in the throat, booming type of sound. Um, what else is, oh yeah, pacing. That was very important in Gumball. I remember the pacing and the diction was the
Mm.
hardest for me to learn, because
Were you going
Gumball
too
talks,
fast or too slow?
well, the thing is, Gumball talks insanely fast. He's like bum bum bum, you know. And so I had to learn, I basically had to like relearn speaking, because, you know, anyone can talk fast, but in voiceover you got to talk fast clearly.
Right.
So you'll flub up a lot and you'll kind of like trip over yourself. um I remember like one of the specific things, I think the first episode I ever recorded was called The Fan,
Mm.
and I had a line, um that I said, I think we need to have a conversation with this young lady. Like I can say it right now. Like it's very fast, but that specifically was something that I had trouble saying. Like I would trip over myself. He just talks so fast, man. And I did eventually get the hang of it, though. It took a little bit. It took maybe about like like a month's worth of practice.
Yeah. But
I
you also
remember,
do To Your Eternity, which is
yeah.
on HBO Max, and that's anime. How does the anime differ from regular cartoon work?
So that is, you know, it's still voice acting, of course, but it's under the genre of dubbing.
Mm,
So when you're dubbing, the animation's already been done.
right.
You're just acting to the lip flaps of the character. Um so I know that can be tricky for some people, because you know, in my mind, even when I'm recording for To Your Eternity, sometimes I think in my mind, I wish I could say it like a different way, a different pacing.
Yeah.
You want to try different things, but you have the pacing has to match. So you can't experiment with that really, unless, you know, if your character is kind of like the mouth isn't showing on the camera,
Right. Off
maybe it's
screen or
like the
something.
camera's from behind or you're off screen, then you can experiment with that. Maybe like the character's wearing a mask or helmet or something, and you can experiment with that, but you can't really in the dubbing world. So that can get tricky, because you have to not only watch the animation before your eyes and concentrate on that, like keeping the timing, but you also
Mm-hmm.
got to remember that you're acting. So you have to like sound natural and real while you're focusing on how you sound.
I
And
wonder
that can
how
be
many
very
people
tricky.
get lost, like just trying to like do the words while watching the screen and just completely forget their performance.
I remember a couple weeks ago there was an episode I was recording where there was one line, I can't remember what it was, but that's not the important part. I said this line, and I thought and my voice director Michael Sorich, he's like, "All right, great, moving on." And in my mind I was like, "Wait, can I try that again?" Because and we eventually did, and I got it the way I wanted, because I was like, "Wow, I really wasn't paying
You
attention to
just phoned
like."
it in.
Yeah, I just kind of like I was so it was like kind of like a speech. It was like 9 seconds of talking. So I
Jesus.
really had to concentrate on those lip flaps. But I eventually got it the way I wanted.
Wow. But you
Yeah.
don't just do voiceover. You were on, are you still doing the Goldbergs? Because you were on that for a
Yeah,
very
that's
long
right.
time.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been doing that for 8 years. We're on season 8 actually.
Wow.
I started doing that when I was 11 as well. Um Man, when I was 11, things were great. I was doing gumballs, doing Goldbergs. Yeah, Goldbergs is incredible. It's a really awesome, production to be working with.
Mm.
Again, like I started young. I was young when I got on set, and everyone treated me with kindness and warmth and respect. Really, like
Yeah.
they never talked down to me. They always treated me like I was one of them. And especially Sean Giambrone, who plays Adam Goldberg, he before I joined, there wasn't another actor or anyone on set that was his age. So
Aw.
once I joined, he was like, "Oh my god, thank you!"
I have a friend.
And yeah, right, a friend, and we hit it off immediately. He's always been super cool.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
it's so fun to be on something for that long, because those relationships, they'll never go away. You'll have those until
Yeah.
you die, because you're the only ones who can say that you had that experience together, because every show is different, everything,
Mhm.
every project is different. But you guys
Yeah.
have this connection now that's going to last a lifetime.
Right. And, if you think about it even further than that, we made that connection through our careers, and we're going to be
Mhm.
doing this. This is our job. So, we'll definitely cross paths on another project or something like that. I remember when Gumball is over. I remember when Gumball was still, out with new episodes and stuff. And Sean actually was on the Cartoon Network cartoon Clarence when
Mm.
that was still on. And I remember, man, this was back when Cartoon Network still did the Hall of Game Awards. Um, and I remember we both went there, so that was like something that we got to cross paths on again. We were like, "Oh my gosh, hey!" You know, um,
That's cool.
yeah, I'll always, like cherish those types of relationships. They're important.
They're very important, and it's good to know good people in this industry,
Hmm.
because
Oh yeah.
there are the bad apples hanging around.
Yeah, there are definitely some slippery slopes for sure. Just like in any, place, there's always going to be the good and the bad, and
Yeah.
you really gotta hold on to that good.
Yeah.
Mm.
So on this show, we like to talk about past audition stories that
Oh boy.
are fun for the listeners to hear. Do you have one that you would like to share, or two, or however,
Yeah,
whatever you want?
I got a few.
Okay. Well, buckle in.
Yeah, I got a few. 14 years of acting. I've probably got a couple. I remember when. So Fast and Furious 9 is already out.
Right.
So I can definitely talk about this. Um, I think the auditioning process was 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago,
Mm.
actually. And I auditioned for one of the characters. I think his name was I think it was Jack. It was Jack. Yeah, one of the characters, Jack. I don't know who got it now. I haven't looked at the cast, but I remember when I auditioned for it, and then I got the call back,
Mm-hmm.
and then I heard that Vin Diesel and the director, I think it was Christopher Nolan. I could be wrong though, but they had seen the tape. So they had seen my tape, and I was like,
Oh my
"Whoa,
God.
this is crazy." So, and then it got to the point where there were six guys. It was
Wow.
down to six guys, including me. And I remember casting was calling me up and saying, "Pack your bags, get ready to go to London tomorrow." So we thought, "Oh, I must be really, really close." And then they ended up going with someone way older. He was in his 20s.
Wow.
And I was like, dang it, that's the one that got away. Because they were telling me, pack your bags, get ready. You might be going to London. I'd
Mm.
never been. It was going to be whoa, new experience. Um, and
Wow.
they were being so for sure about that. I remember,
That's
I,
that's wild, because it's like
yeah,
you hear, I've had that happen a couple times too, where it's like you hear this incredible feedback from the casting directors, and you're like, "Oh my God, I have it. It's in the bag.
yeah, right.
It's mine. I'm gonna, go get ready for this." And then all of a sudden, Boom. You
Yeah.
didn't get it. And JK. But it's interesting that ended up being somebody who was, in a different age range than you as
Yeah.
well. So you can
That
obviously
kind of stuff, yeah.
it was like, something, at least knowing it's not something you could have controlled, right? Because they
Exactly.
went
That kind of
so
stuff,
far
right.
opposite.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, when I always hear that, I've definitely been in those situations where it's like, this guy looks like you, he's got the same type of personality, and he ends up getting it. But I've been in, plenty of situations where it's like, oh, we want to go older or younger, or we want to go ethnic, or just something that, I can't control my age or
Right.
my race, I've even been in stuff where it's like, I get down to the wire and it's like, oh, we actually want to change this role to be a girl. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So there's no way I can control that.
Nope, that's so far out.
Yeah. So that type of stuff I've always been okay with. It's like, okay, that, they made a decision I can't even do anything about. I remember another audition that, like, got away was, there was that Noah's Ark movie that Emma Watson starred in, and I auditioned to play her younger brother.
Oh, wow.
And that, like, I I thought I was totally gonna get it. I remember auditioning for it in California. Then I flew out to New York
Wow.
to do the callback. And, like, just for the callback, I flew to New York across the country. And I remember after my callback and I was walking out of the building, one of the assistants was walking me out, and she was saying, like, I hope you're gonna like Iceland, which is where they were gonna film. And she's like, I hope you're gonna love Iceland. And she's like, saying, like, you're gonna love it there, pack your bags, all the same stuff. And then it goes to, like, a complete, like, nothing like me. And I was like, well, great.
Anytime somebody in the future starts telling you to pack your bags, you just need to tell them to stop talking, because that's, like, clearly a curse. Like, don't talk about it. We're just gonna walk away right now.
Imagine I just, like, 3 years from now become a crotchety old man, and I'm so jaded. And I'm just like, don't tell me to.
Don't tell me to pack my bags.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's wild, man. But the thing is, in this industry is, if it was meant to be yours, it was meant to be yours. And if it wasn't, then it never was. And that's kind of just how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the
Yeah.
sooner, especially for younger people listening to the show right now, the sooner that you become okay with that, the more fun it's going to be.
Yeah, I think since I started so young, and I've always had, my view on the industry has definitely matured over the years, but I started young and I always had this sort of innocent lookout where it's like, if I audition for something and I don't get it, I don't get it. Whatever. Move
Mhm.
on to the next thing. And I've always kept that. It's never rejection. And this is just an important life lesson in general, but rejection never really bothered me that much.
Which is
Um,
amazing and great.
well, yeah, because when you think about it, it's, yeah, you're the one auditioning, right? But it all comes down to what the casting and, the director and the creator, what they want. It's their
Mhm.
project. It's not your thing. It
Yep.
becomes kind of your thing if you become a part of it. But, you don't have control
No.
over that type of stuff. So it's like, whatever, just move on to the next thing.
Yeah, all you have control over is putting in the work and
Yeah,
staying
doing the best you
constant
can.
and not giving up. That's it.
Yeah. As long as you always do the best you can, then you'll never be dissatisfied, I don't think.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It has been a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad we ended on such an inspiring note.
Inspiring note. Where can people follow you on social media to keep up with all your stuff?
Yeah, my Twitter is HopkinsJacob5 and my Instagram is HopkinsJake. I actually do want to announce something real quick.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's nothing you would have known about beforehand because it literally happened yesterday.
Oh my
I
gosh.
can't say exactly what it is, but I got a call saying that I booked another lead for another animated series. I can't say exactly what it is yet. I imagine soon though, because I'm actually starting to record like tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know when this is going to come out, but my first day of recording is going to be June 23rd.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And we're recording this the 22nd. So
Wow. Well, congratulations. And you have a film that you recently did, Carolina's Calling, that's going to come out probably next year, you think?
Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking probably either later this year or
Cool.
early 2022. I think it's going to be coming out on a streaming platform. I don't know yet, but I will keep you guys updated about that so you can check it out on the social medias and also the new voiceover thing.
Yay. Well, congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
again, it was so great to talk to you. I can't wait to see all of the fantastic things that you do.
Well, thank you so much, Jillian. I had an awesome time.
Thanks again to Jacob for coming on the show and spending a little time with me. It's always fun to meet new people on this show and get to connect. Tune in next week for my conversation with Jason Stewart. And until then, make sure you're subscribed to the show and following us on social media. If you didn't know, every Friday we release a really fun Instagram TV video, which shows about a 1 to 2 minute clip of our conversation with this week's guest live, us actually talking to each other. Instead of just, listening to it, you can see a tiny bit of it on our Instagram. So make sure to follow us there and tell your friends, tell your family. And as always, thanks for coming in.
Nowadays, trends and news cycles change faster than we can blink. But there are some things that withstand the test of time. And if you're looking for a connection to something timeless, and maybe also a glimpse of life at a slower pace, I believe everyone can relate to the very human experiences explored in Jane Austen's novels. And that's where I come in. My name is Alison Larkin. I'm a writer, comedian, and narrator and host of the Jane Austen podcast with Alison Larkin. I spent a lot of my childhood in the part of England where Jane Austen lived and wrote, and now that I live in the States, nothing gives me a sense of homecoming quite like narrating her books. On this show, you'll listen to award-winning narration. I'll give myself a pat on the back for that, as well as conversations with actors, writers, and other fascinating people who all share a passionate love for Jane Austen. So please, join me as we embark on a wonderful journey through Jane Austen's work. Be sure to listen and subscribe to the Jane Austen podcast with Alison Larkin, wherever you get your podcasts.